The original Razer Ripsaw capture card simply was not a good capture card. It was overpriced for what it was, and at the end of the day, it was a rebranding of Aver Media's device. However, when the Ripsaw HD came out, this was definitively the best external capture card on the market. There was nothing in the price point that had a 4K pass-through, independent audio channels that you could address separately in things like OBS or Streamlabs, and a rock-solid and consistent 1080p 60 recording. Fast forward 2.5 years later, and competition is thick in the external capture card market, with offerings for 1080p and 4K recording from Elgato, as well as the Aver Media Live Gamer, Asus TUF CU 4K30, the Genki Shadowcast, and the Atmos Ninja V. But today we're going to unbox, set up, and review the Razer Ripsaw HD and see why this is still a good capture card option in 2022. The Razer Ripsaw HD came out April 2019 for a retail price of $160 and is a direct successor to the Ripsaw, which was a rebranding of Aver Media's capture card, and was a direct competitor for the predecessor of this capture card from Elgato, which was just called the HD60. And I do recall clear as day, this was the only affordable external capture card at the time that could easily and consistently capture 1080p 60 gameplay from something like a console, but here's the catcher, the kicker, also passed through at 4K 60, so you yourself could enjoy the performance of things like the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X. Keep in mind this is a 2-year-old capture card, but at the time, this was fully utilizing the power of the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X. As it is a Razer product, you are going to have a ton of lime green branding on the box. You are going to have a thank you letter from the CEO. I'm sure he didn't handwrite this, but you got his old stamp and sigil on there for you Game of Thrones fans. And it tells you what this device is. Streaming. It's huge. It's hot right now. Streamers get paid and get laid in the shade sipping lemonade with a fade. Should have been a rapper. Streaming is one of the fastest growing entertainment platforms in the world. It's engaging, competitive, and connects people no matter where they're from. Blah, 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 blah. You need this to be a real streamer. Now, I'm going to be making a separate video, a tutorial, if you will, going over why exactly you would want to use an internal or external capture card, or do you need one, period. And then also a video comparing the best internal and external capture cards of early 2022. Different price points, different feature sets, so you can find the right capture card for your needs. The packaging is incredibly premium. You have some laser cut foam in here, keeping your product in place. Nice little pull tab to get your device out easily. You have this plastic cover to keep it free of fingerprints and debris. Build quality actually feels pretty good. It is relatively light, very light actually, but it also doesn't feel cheap and chintzy either. You do have a nice rubberized coating on the entire bottom, as well as the model number and your serial number, and this is very grippy. It will keep your device from not sliding around on your desk. Now, pulling this back, you are going to have your instruction manual. Taking another finger and putting it into another hole, you are going to get an accessory box. Be very gentle with it. Now, I'm a real Merlot sipping caviar snacking connoisseur when it comes to instruction manuals, brochures, and pamphlets, and I gotta say, this is pretty good. I'd give it about a 6 out of 10 stars on the old Stiffy meter because English is the primary language, good font, it is clear, concise, and does break down the ports and plugs, what plug to shove in what hole, how to use the software drivers, how to go from a, oh, some stickers popped out. It's not a real Razer product unless you have these bad boys to sticker bomb your bumper or your PC tower. And it also shows you if you're going from a console to a PC, or a gaming PC to a streaming PC. If you're one of those weirdos that's running a 2 PC setup, also gonna make a separate video on that topic as well. The pros and cons of running a 2 PC setup, so a gaming and streaming PC, and then just running a single PC setup like the good Lord intended. But this is a pretty good instruction manual, and you have their catchphrase, their slogan, their branding. By gamers, for gamers. Get fucked. Razer. Now, you're going to have an HDMI cable that does have dust covers on both sides, as well as some Razer branding. However, it is relatively short. It is rubberized, not braided or microfiber. It does have a nice little rubberized tie back. It is not one of the ones that stays connected whenever you disconnect it. It stays connected when you disconnect it. It's not one of the ones that stays attached to the cable, and it is relatively short. However, this is just going to be for your pass-through. So this is going to go to your TV or monitor, whatever you're viewing while you're gaming, and then get plugged into the output, which is the left HDMI port here. Now, these are both HDMI 2.0 ports or 2.0 ports, however you want to say that. They're not 2.1, as that really hasn't even been a topic or an issue until the 9th generation home consoles, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, not S, which do require HDMI 2.1 and a TV or monitor that does support that technology as well. So you're able to utilize 4K 120. Granted, there's very few titles thus far that we've had that do push 4K 120. And then you have your accessory cable bundle over here, which has another rubberized tie back, which does not stay connected as well. More dust covers, lime green on the USB ports, of course, Razer, I like it. This is USB 3.0, A on this end and C on this end. This is braided, stamped with Razer's logo on each side, and you do have a braided 3 3.5mm headphone jack as well, which is for the audio mixing suite on this side, which we are going to talk about when we get this bad boy set up, and is a very cool feature because it's one of the few capture cards, especially when this released, that had a separate track that you could monitor and adjust the levels of inside of your capture software, such as Streamlabs. Because since this cannot record directly to the device, you do need to use, well, a PC to record your gameplay footage. When you first plug the Ripsaw HD into your PC via the USB-C cable, you will get a green light illuminated on the front of the device, and you will get a pop-up window if you have Razer Synapse already pre-installed, which I do, due to having Razer peripherals such as a keyboard and mouse. But if this is your first Razer product, you will have to install what is called Razer Synapse, which is the software program that runs all Razer devices. But since I already have this installed, it is prompting me to do an update, as we now have a new device that needs driver support. Down here in new apps, you might see a couple of additional Razer softwares down here. I would just skip over those unless you research them and find out that you actually need them. For me, I just need a Razer Synapse. Now, two things to make note of on screen here. Currently in the bottom right, I am getting a notification from the Synapse application. Hey, you don't have an HDMI signal coming in. That's correct, because I'm not plugged into my console. And even if you are plugged in, but it's not turned on and you're not receiving any data or information, then you're going to get this little notification here. Also, I am on Amazon. This is a 15-foot HDMI 2.1 cable that will support up to 8K 60 or 4K 120, which is what's important here for these new generation consoles like the PS5 and the Series X. And this is $24 currently. However, there's a 10% coupon that you can apply in addition to that. This will be linked in the description below. And I would recommend that if you have something like my setup here, where you're going to need to run a long HDMI cable from a console all the way over to your PC, which might be on the other side of the room. This is the Razer Synapse application. If you've been around the channel a while, then you've seen this showcase in the past for previous products such as keyboards and mice. But we're going to click on the Razer Ripsaw HD over here, and as you can see, there is an audio monitoring suite where you can adjust the audio levels of your PC, the HDMI in, your microphone port, which is that 3.5mm jack in the front. However, since you're going to be running this into a PC, you're most likely going to be using some kind of a screen capturing software like OBS or Streamlabs or XSplit Broadcaster or Twitch Studio, where you're going to be able to run your USB or XLR microphone that's plugged into your PC. So you're probably not going to use this microphone input built onto the device unless you're playing multiplayer on a console like a PS4 or Xbox One, where you want to have your game chat, your friends recorded in the actual game chat, as well as your voice through your headset mic, and you're not using some kind of a PC-based USB or XLR microphone. Then you are going to use that microphone input port, and that will capture your PlayStation or Xbox game chat. But most players nowadays, since you're using your PC anyway, you'll probably be commed up via Discord. Now, as you can see, I have my PlayStation 5 displayed in Streamlabs, and it was kind of a pain in the urethra tip, to be honest. I had to read a couple of forums and find a workaround, because there is an issue with the Ripsaw HD when it comes to use on the PlayStation 5 and Series X and S for that matter, the new generation consoles, where you need to turn off a specific feature. So hiding my face for just a minute, you're going to go over here to settings, go to system, HDMI, and then disable HDCP, which unfortunately makes certain applications like Netflix unusable on your PlayStation 5. Now, for somebody like myself, I do all my TV show and movie streaming services on my smart TV, so I don't install those applications on my consoles. But if this is your primary entertainment center where you have Netflix and YouTube and Hulu and Disney Plus and stuff installed, a lot of those applications simply will not work by turning this off. But this is the only way that I was able to actually get a signal to Streamlabs, which is incredibly frustrating. And I really hope that Razer is working on some kind of a patch or update to fix this. You'll have your HDMI plug from the back of your console into the input, which is labeled in. Then you're going to use the included Razer HDMI cable, or your own for that matter, to out, and that is going to plug into your monitor or television or whatever you're actually going to be playing the game on. Now, if you are going to use your headset's microphone, you will plug it in here via the bottom of your headphones. However, since I'm capturing this in Streamlabs, as you can see up here, this live preview, I will be using my XLR microphone. I'm going to give you guys some gameplay footage in just a minute here, but I want to make a couple of notes here. First of all, this does not support HDR whatsoever, which has become kind of a standard feature or a staple with external capture cards over the last couple of years. This card came out in mid 2019. We're now in 22. Now I'm going to quickly show you how to get this capture card set up inside of Streamlabs. This will also work with OBS or Open Broadcaster Software Service Supplier. OBS, we all know what it is. So I created a separate scene so I can still have things like my webcam and my alert box. And then I created a new display capture. So in order to do that, you're going to press this plus icon. You are going to go to video capture device. And as it lists right here, capture cards such as Elgato, Aver Media, Blackmagic, and of course Razer. Hit add source. I already have capture card console display here, but you're going to check this little box right here and you're going to type in Razer or whatever you want. Hit add source. And now you will be able to select from this drop down Razer Ripsaw HD HDMI. Now you can run these default settings, and as long as you disabled HDCP inside of your console, you should be okay. However, we're going to optimize a little bit. Come over here, select custom, select 1080p as that is the highest capture resolution. For FPS, select 60 as that is the highest. Video format, select MJPEG. This really shouldn't apply, but just uncheck it anyway. And then if you are going to be using that 3.5mm headphone jack and mixing your own audio directly from the capture card, then you are going to check use custom audio device and select microphone Razer Ripsaw HD. And to get that up and running with its own separate slider, go to the plus icon again, go to audio output capture, which says, you know, desktop audio, a capture card, for example, add source, you name it, whatever, Razer audio, add source, and you are going to select Razer Ripsaw HD over here. And now as you can see, we have a separate slider here where you can actually adjust your microphone volume in Streamlabs, which is pretty cool. And now as you can see, we are capturing the gameplay, and as you can hear, we do have the gameplay sound, and if it's too loud or quiet, you can adjust that separate slider we just made inside of Streamlabs, which is pretty sweet. And as you can see, this actually looks really good, and there's also minimal input delay on my preview that I'm getting in my Streamlabs. However, that doesn't really matter considering you're probably not watching your OBS or screen capture preview. You're staring at your primary monitor, which you're playing the game at. It's a direct pass-through. There is no input delay on that. So what are the pros and cons of the Razer Ripsaw HD? We'll start with the pros. It is a relatively sleek looking device. It is flat matte black with a little Razer emblem on the top, and it does have some nice rubberized feet, so it's not going to be slipping around your desk. As this is an older capture card, you will see sales ran on it all the time. I've seen this as low as $80. If you see it for that low, this is definitely a good buy. However, if you are paying full MSRP or even close to it, around the $140 mark or so, there are some better options that I'll give you at the end of the video. Also, it is nice that it does have a software suite that you can use with it. So if you're not using something like Streamlabs or OBS, it does have separate audio levels for the 3.5mm headphone jacks and headphone port. And last but not least, it does have a 4K resolution, 60 frames per second or 60 hertz pass through, which is great. Now for the cons. This is the only capture card that I've tested as of recent that you have to disable HDCP inside of your console to use, which again will make a lot of applications like Netflix unusable. So that's a huge downside. 2, this doesn't support any HDR, which almost all of the new capture cards do. 3, these things can be a little bit buggy and wonky. I've read a ton of horror stories in the Razer forums and all over the internet. If you just Google, you will see a bunch of horror stories where people are like, hey, my Ripsaw stopped working. What do I do? So that's relatively common. It's not a very consistent card. You don't want to be losing your screen capture in the middle of a stream. So that's kind of a pain in the ass. And the biggest con here is the fact that since this is an older device, there are several other better options, such as if you're trying to capture 1080p 60, the HD60S Plus from Elgato. I'm not sponsored by this company or anything. This is just a better option, as it does support HDR, is a much newer device, so it will be a lot more consistent, and they give it more driver support. And this is a much more consistent and reliable device, as I have heard very minimal complaints about this device. And if you want to step up to something like 4K 60 video capture, or you want to be able to record directly to the capture card via an SD card, maybe you're on the go at something like an esports tournament and you want to capture your gameplay of you slapping noobs and doing 360 no scopes, then you can just use this and not have to lug around your gaming laptop. So at the end of the day, would I purchase this device? No. 2 years ago, I would, and I did. But in 2022, with all these other great competitors out there, I just mentioned these 2 Elgato products, but there are several other good options out there, such as Aver Media, or if you have a lightning bolt plug or connection on your motherboard, there's a device called the Bolt, and that thing is pretty sweet as well. So at MSRP, it's not a recommended buy for me. However, like I mentioned, these things are on sale quite a bit, as it is an older device. So if you can catch one of these things at about 80 bucks, I would say to pick it up if you do not already have a capture card. If you enjoyed the video, liking it helps it to get seen by more gamers. This information will reach and assist them as well, which in turn helps me grow this little channel, which I do greatly appreciate. Subscribe for more content like this. I cover news in the gaming community and industry, tutorials helping you get set up streaming and YouTubing, as well as honest gaming product reviews, keyboards, mice, headsets, controllers, mics, chairs, etc. There are some hefty exclusive discount codes found only in the description of my videos and only for the audience here at Gamer Heaven. Check out Into the AM for some of the sickest looking and most comfortable cloth to ever grace my gaming giblets. If you don't want to be scorching your corneas with harmful blue light, check out Gamer Advantage, the only blue light glasses on the market that look sexy and actually work. If you're looking for a custom controller that'll blow the competition's tits back, AIM definitively has the best bang for buck or price to performance when it comes to Xbox, PlayStation, and Switch controllers. Nope, they don't do Switch, but they do gaming mice. I said doo-doo. I have links to all my other platforms and socials in the description below. If you need a quick laugh or blast of gamer adrenaline, check my short form videos out at TikTok. To get in touch with myself and the stallions and stallionettes of Gamer Heaven, join the community Discord, and check me out at twitch.tv where I go live every other leap year year on a blue moon if it falls into an odd calendar number, and my pH balance is on point. Just kidding. Starting June, I'm going to be live streaming a lot. Thanks for watching. This has been AK40 Kevin hosting Gamer Heaven, and I'll see you tomorrow because I upload daily. All the time. 60% of the time. Sometimes. Most of the time. Peace.